I'm Chelsea, licensed real estate agent in Los Angeles, California, and welcome back to my real reactions to real estate experiences. Let's dive right in. All right, this one's a bit of a long one, so bear with me. Long post, they say. We were searching for our first house with a well-known local realtor who was showing us listings that we made clear were not what we were looking for. She kept insisting we check these places out, and naively we followed her advice. They were all under the bedroom bathroom requirement or on the complete opposite end of the city we were interested in. All were terrible, and she made it clear she was annoyed that we didn't like any of her suggestions despite telling her that the properties weren't within the parameters of what we were looking to buy. Not a good start. We'll keep going and then we'll circle back. In the meantime, my girlfriend finds this for sale by owner house that we both fall in love with. We inform the realtor that we won't be needing her services because of the lack of interest in properties she was showing us and the fact that we'd found our own listing. She pressures us into allowing her to come along just to see what you found on your own. We both love it. We end up going through the offer process on our own, work with the owner to get down some on the price, but can't get to where we can agree. My girlfriend calls and talks to the owners, very nice people, who inform us the reason they can't go any further is because while they were there, our realtor had secretly had them sign something saying that we weren't allowed to sell us. They weren't allowed to sell us the house without going through her. I was furious. I would be too. Okay. I called the realtor, and her response was along the lines of, "Well, I need to get paid too." I wouldn't have been as upset if she had been doing a decent job. You should be, but again, we'll go back to that. But I've already told her we didn't want her services because she wasn't giving us anything inside the parameters we set. We did all the work as if it was owner to owner, no realtor involvement. We loved the house, so we knew we just had to deal with it. In the meantime, the owners move out and end up getting a realtor to help sell the house because it was taking too long. That's strange, but we'll keep going. We ended up biting the bullet and paying $10K more, including seller compensation for the realtor's commission, because the realtor ordeal that delayed the process. The realtor was really rude to us, and after we closed, said she expected us to find her 3 new clients in order for her business to continue. Well, yeah, that's not happening, and needless to say, we will not be using her or anything or recommending her anymore. Well, maybe I'm the a-hole for wanting to break ties with her. I didn't see how it was fair that she knew she wasn't doing anything helpful for us except wasting her time and showing us places that we weren't interested in, yet expected to get paid for a listing she did not find, show us of, or anything. I feel like we got scammed, although I know she's a successful realtor in the area, and yeah, I get that we shouldn't have been so naive, but we had no idea going into the process what the normal routine was. We have since told everyone the story, and everyone that we've told us we should have pushed her harder and agreed to go with. We should have pushed her harder and never agreed to go with her to the shitty listings. Excuse my French. And although we should have pushed back against the agreement, she had them sign without our knowledge, and she really had no part in the house buying other than showing up and watching us sign papers prepared by the title company we sought out and chose. We also realize now that part of the problem was the sellers agreeing to sign the form in the first place. Well, that is quite a ton. It mostly sounds avoidable to me, so this is a good spot to remind all what we're taught, at least in our industry, but is so beneficial to everyone, is the agreement 2 parties should sign when being represented in the real estate business. In this case, the buyer and the broker should have had an accord, should have been signed into an agreement that makes very clear who's representing whom. It should be very clear the parameters for what you're looking for, the where, the price range, and the duration of time you're set to work with this person. You can always, as a buyer, change your mind and work with someone else and request to exit the agreement. That is within your right, and my understanding is the way that California has set up these accords, these contracts, it does benefit you, and you guys have all the room in the world. Check, obviously, with legal counsel to confirm that. I'm not a lawyer, but in my experience, if anyone were to come to me and want to work with someone else, that's completely their prerogative. What it does help with in the purchase process and the hunting process is a clear-cut understanding of the roles, the fiduciary duty to you, so you know what to expect from your agent. It would have completely prevented, at least it should have, I don't know, there are some shady people out there, but it should have prevented the situation of the agent going behind your back and trying to sign an agreement between the seller and themselves. I bring up the buyer-broker agreement because it really does sound like in this case that there was none in place. That said, my understanding is that the agent, in even embarking on the process of showing you homes and potentially writing offers on other properties, they're representing you already, but there's nothing formally written. So the agency agreement does come into play even orally, from my understanding, but it's really best to have everything in writing. So, right, and if you did have an agreement in place and it was still in play, and then they went and signed this seller on a property that you were interested in, they may be risking some ethical items on their end, and you don't, I would never do it because it's just really unethical, but it gets a little gray area if they're doing something very unethical and going for their dual agency without your knowledge. So you'd have been protected, my understanding, against something like that had you been in an agreement with this realtor. The second piece I would like to bring up, which might be a little controversial, is the biggest, most boastful, number one agent in your area may not always be the best choice for you when you're hunting for a home, especially if you're a first timer. They're not, think about it like a capacity item. If someone is representing everyone and their grandmother, how are they going to have time for you and all of your questions? So you may want to choose to work with someone who either is not such a high producing agent, maybe someone who does, a few deals a month, that type of thing. Someone who is good, seasoned, has been in the business for a long time, someone you can trust, but someone who has the bandwidth to work and handhold you through the process. That is not an issue. That just may be more of what you need. So again, for those new timers or for those people who really enjoy a process when they get their agents full and undivided attention, again, the number one in the area, unless they are your absolute bestie, BFF for life, and will drop anything for you, may just not be the right choice. So that's what I would say about that. There's a bit of a caveat for like big teams because you likely would get, some one-on-one service, but that big name still, it may not be directly involved in all of the transactional business. So you may just be working with someone who is experienced but maybe newer to real estate or just not the principal on the team. So just all these things to think about, understand your agent's bandwidth and work processes before you go into it, because not being shown homes, like kind of my point, not being shown homes that hit the parameters of your checklist of what you're looking for is a sign that they were not listening or they were not taking notes or you're really just not high on their priority list. So definitely a way to avoid that. And I would say, honestly, after the first couple of homes that are not sitting right with you, that are completely ignoring the parameters, wherein you feel neglected, go find someone else. Not bad. I honestly think that that's the main piece. I mentioned about, getting your agreement in order with your agent so you know who's who. That could be avoided. The agent should not have gone behind their back. Get your buyer's agents in agreements and contracts with each other, and find someone you really enjoy. It's a long process. It could be a bumpy road, and you just want to make sure that you're well represented. So thank you for tuning in again. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We will be back later with more real estate experiences.